You guys, it is finally here. Season 2 of Devil's Plan. It has released right here, right now, today on Netflix, friends. All right, let's do a recap of last season. Season 1 starts off super strong with Lee Shi-wan and Dong Jae taking the lead and immediately forming an alliance, okay? Those two really understood that in order to get far in this game, friends was important. Obviously, other competitors seeing them two get close, they immediately had a target on their back going into the first game. The game is structured as that usually they have a game where the entire team has to contribute and it's all about teamwork and team players. And then boom, the other games are more about either forming an alliance or turning against your teammates. Okay, so they do two games throughout. All right, so we go into the first game, which is basically like a mafia game, and we immediately start to see the key strong players form. Okay, including Dong Jae, Hasuk Jin, Jun Bin, and Orbit. Now, Junbin and Orbit will soon form an alliance opposite of Lee Shi-wan and Dong Jae, who, remember I told you guys, immediately decided to work together and take each other to the end. Orbit's philosophy was save the weak, okay? Save the weak, which there were about, I would say, 5 floater players around who would bounce around from alliance to alliance, okay? But most people gravitated towards Orbit because they were weaker players and they knew that they could rely on him because he will enable their weak ass behavior. Tensions grew with some of the stronger players within Orbit alliances because they started to understand that saving the weaker players is not how you win the game and it's just taking up space. All right. So we come out the first game and we see that Gilmade, the foreigner, he actually wins this, you guys. He wins this for the terrorists. So immediately, they're winning gold pieces and they put a target on their back as the strong players, okay? So we got Lee Shi Wang, Gilame, and Dong Jae in the alliance together. Ha Seok Jin, he's like a calculated, very reserved player. You really don't know what's in his head at this point. But again, he is proving himself from the first game to be a strong player, even though he didn't pick a side yet. So as we see things progressing, they're playing the games whoop de woo, and they're learning about things in the game, like the fact that there's a prison. Yes, guys, there is a prison that again provides a pivotal moment in the game later on. So obviously the weaker players are getting sent to prison, guys. Considering Lee Shi-wan and Dong Jae and Ha Seok-jin have been accumulating winning pieces up until this point, put a target on their back, and Orbit takes advantage of that. He really starts going in saying, oh, we're the underdogs. We need to beat them. We need to get out of here. They can't be trusted. So tensions start to rise between the two alliances. And Lee Shi-wan, she's going to be the head of this alliance, and Orbit's going to be the head of the other alliance, guys. Lee Shi-wan is taking hit after hit, watching her teammates go game after game. Okay, Dong Jae ends up getting eliminated. Gilame, the foreigner, also ends up getting eliminated, you guys. Very strong players. And the fact that both of them and Lee Shi-wan's alliance got eliminated, that left Lee Shi-wan scrambling, trying to find new players to play with, trying to form new alliances and gain people's trust. A lot of people outside of her alliance did not trust her or want to play with her. And I don't know why, because she proved to be loyal and a good player. But we saw a lot happen during the numbers game, guys, the secret numbers game. And we also started to see Orbit's alliance fall apart. This whole save the week mentality was not sitting right with Dongju or Junbin. And Junbin single-handedly stirred up some trouble that ultimately got Dong Jae eliminated. You started to see them fall apart. Junbin being one to really break away. He felt very guilty about convincing one of the weaker players to turn their back on Dong Jae. So he dedicates the rest of his game to getting this weaker player further and redeeming himself. All right. Same with Dong Ju. She also realized during this game that saving the weak isn't going to be sustainable. And so we slowly start to see the rival alliance fall apart. Now, throughout this, they're winning game pieces, guys. And here's the plot twist. Lee Shi-wan figured out that the game pieces mean something. Not only do they mean something, but you can put them together to form a code, guys. What is this code for? Well, remember the prison earlier? Mind you, all the weaker players are going to prison. All right. So far, Lee Shi-wan, Ha Seok-jin, or Orbit, all of the strong players have managed to avoid prison. Okay. Lee Shi-wan is the only one who knows the game pieces form a bigger picture. She goes and decides to trust Ha Seok-jin with this information. And this is the start of their duo alliance. The dynamic duo, folks, they took it and they ran with this. And Ha Seok-jin really had to choose a side at this point because we were getting later in the game and he could no longer straddle the middle, and he chose Lee Shi-wan, of course. Now, them two figured out what the game pieces mean. They figured out the code that goes to this secret tunnel in the prison. Yes, guys, at this point, none of the other players have figured it out, okay? All of them had a hunch, but none of them dedicated enough time to actually figure out what the game pieces mean, which is why I love Lee Shi-wan because she was extremely tenacious and committed. She knew immediately. She knew immediately that there was something in the prison and it was beneficial to go. Ha Suk-jin, he devises a master plan and doesn't tell anybody. Again, he was very reserved and calculated the entire time, even when he did choose an alliance, okay? And this isn't a game where one of the weaker players really got to shine. I forgot her name, but she ends up doing really well. Obviously not well enough because Ha Suk-jin ultimately has to choose who goes home. And who does he choose? Obviously the weaker player. But he chose that so Lee Shi-wan and him can go to prison together, and that they did. Yes, they figured out what happened in that secret tunnel and where to go, guys. What did the secret tunnel lead to? It led to a game of, I forgot what the game is called, but it was a game they had planted in the house they were staying at as well. And guess who decided to play it because he thought that it would come up in the game later? Ha Suk-jin. Yeah, so Lee Shi-wan goes first. Only one person a day can go and challenge the master of this game. If you win, you win. If you lose, you go home. So Lee Shi-wan disappears behind the door, and friends, she never comes back. Ha Suk-jin is on the other side, still stuck in prison, waiting till the next day so he can go and avenge his mate and have his chance, my friends. He's up all night practicing the game, running it through his head, and he finally gets his chance the next morning. And what does he do? He comes out with the dubski. He comes out with the dubski, Ha Suk-jin. Not only that, but he comes out with a rack of winnings, my friends, a rack of winnings that sets him light years ahead of the other players by the time the second to last game arises. So the second to last game comes, guys, and Ha Suk-jin again is light years ahead of the other players. And this is a gambling game, all right? This is a game where they have to make an equations to either equal the higher or lower sum, and then you gamble on which one you want to go with. Now, Orbit, this was the crazier thing. By this time, Orbit only had about 2 people in their alliances, but alliances were kind of pointless. Everybody was playing for themselves. Orbit literally came from nothing, y'all. He was down to 2 chips. 2 chips. And he somehow still managed to win the goddamn game. Well, he didn't win the game, but he progressed to the next final level, which was between him, Orbit, and Ha Suk-jin, guys. The final battle between, I guess you could say, the two heads of these alliances going head to head. It couldn't have been evenly matched or matched even more perfect than this was. But ultimately, Ha Suk-jin takes the win. I believe it is his level-headed, reserved, and calculated nature that really prevailed against Orbit's kind of more, a little bit more scattered, impulsive, if you will, a little bit more chaotic nature. And that's who took the dubski. I thought it was very well deserved, and I thought it was a really good moment to really avenge Lee Shi-wan. And I was hoping we would see Lee Shi-wan in this second season, friends. I was hoping we would see her again. Unfortunately, we didn't. But let me know what you guys think of season 2 once you guys give it a watch. I'm starting it right now, baby. Don't forget to subscribe if you like talking about your favorite shows, guys. I'm going to be here talking about it. And Devil's Plan season 2 out now.